Good morning, everyone. Morning, Lynn, Heather, Val, Lane, Fiona. Pleased you got back in time. Morning, Anne. Hi, Leslie, Viv, Sandra, Heather, Catherine, Shirley, Eunice, Janice, Anne, Sue, Pat, Jill, loads of you. How lovely. Thank you very much. Oh, morning, Sarah. Thank you very much for joining me today. And as you may have noticed, from most people have, I think, that it is Fancy Flower Friday today instead of Fancy Fold. I'm going to alternate it a bit, I think I said. The reason why I can't do the Fancy Fold is I needed something for it and I haven't got it, but I have got it on order, so it will be here. So we'll be back to Fancy Fold for next week. But this week, we're on to Fancy Flower. Now, the Fancy Flower I'm going to do is the Snowflower, but in a bit of a difference here. So if you recall, last week I did the Snowflower, and I used it this time with the stamp as well, the matching stamp, and very, very pretty. But I'm going to use it in a different way this way, and I think you'll see at the end that it can look really different. And if you did catch John's show over last weekend, you'll see just how different that they can look. And I think that's the beauty of the flowers, really, that just with a little bit of fiddling in a different way, they can look quite different. So I liked this that I did on Wednesday, which was the sort of enamelling effect with the 2-dip of the embossing powder. So I did another one of those because I quite like that. And as you can probably tell, I'm into a mauve sort of technique here. So this, I'm just going to bring this in. So this is going to be our card base. And I've used the scalloped edge because I thought that looked quite nice. And I've gone with an emboss. No, I haven't gone an embossing set. I've gone with a die set, which is a discontinued one, but I do still have literally 2 or 3 left. So they are over on the website. But it's a Cheery Lynn and it's called the Heart Edge Square. Now, Cheery Lynn is a company that used to be around, I don't know how long ago, 10 years ago until about 4 years ago. And then they amalgamated, I think, with some people or whatever. So Cheery Lynn is not a company that's going anymore, but some of their dies were, when they first came out, they were really quite special because they were one of the first ones that were Teflon coated or whatever they call it. So they come out really well. Anyway, so that is the die set that I was using if you are interested in it. So this is the first base. So I'm going to pop that down before I get onto my flowers. Oh, hold on. Should have started the glue first too, shouldn't we? And as I said, you can see that I'm in a mauve sort of mauve mood. Goodness me, and a no glue mood as well. Hold on. That's because I didn't have the top off properly. So let's just, don't need that. So I thought with the scalloped edge that looked quite nice today. So I've gone with the outer die first. So that's a 6x6 card. So it's just under the 6x6. And then I've gone with the next size down. And I've done that in the, I don't know what the name of the colours are of these. I've forgotten now, but they're in the new colour selection, as we call it. So oh, excuse me, I'm just putting that straight down. I'm not putting any foam on it or anything of it. I'm just putting that straight down. So that as my base of the card that I'm going to be doing. And I think you can see that that looks nice already on there. And I'm just going to have that word happy. I'm not going to put anything else. I did have some of the little wording with the other one, but I'm not going to have anything else. I'm just going to go for that. So flowers. Let's do something a little bit different with the flowers. So I'm going to do 2 flowers, and they are going to be 2 different flowers, but from the same die again. So just slightly different ways. So I'm just going to run this one through the die cutting machine. Whoops. So this one is just cutting it. I've not used this stamp set at all. I'm just going to put that straight through the machine. And I'll be with you in a second. Let me just do that. Okay, so oops, some of them have already come out. And I will need to take some of the others out, I dare say. So just a few of the pieces. So again, all cuts out in one, and you've got the centre pieces as well. But I'm actually only going to worry about taking one centrepiece out. I will do the others, but I don't need to worry about that for now. And this time I'm going to use virtually all of the pieces with one flower. Okay. I don't need those little bits either. I'm going to use virtually all of those things. Oh, excuse me. So what I need to do though is I need to get my bottle of water, just plain water, and I'm just going to spray each of these flowers. I'm not soaking them, I'm just spraying them. I'll just let the water soak in for a second or two. Because I just need to get the paper, the card damp. Now you couldn't cut this, you could do this with paper, but it really wouldn't do so well because you need to have quite strong card. So I'm going to first of all take each of the petals and I'm just going to squash them together. So I'm not going to touch this bit in the centre because if I do that, I weaken the whole of the structure. So I'm just going to take them as their pairs because there's two of each size, and I'm just literally taking the ends and squashing them together. Okay, so nothing more exciting than that. And then I'm going to go down to the next size. Do that. I'm just going to keep them, the two together, so that I know which ones go together, because they do need to be put on in layers and they need to be put on in sets of two. So if you set them out like that. So as I said, I've not soaked them, I've just given them a little spray and just holding them together like that. Okay. Morning, Jill and Terry. Nice to see you joining us. Hope you're feeling better, Terry. So just putting these all together. And then I'm going to do just one. I'm going to leave just one out, which is that little one there. Not going to need that one. So I've just squashed them all together and I don't want them to pick up any more water. So I'm just going to take off the water that I've got on my mat there so that it's not drenching itself. So I'm going to now pop them together. Whoops. Put them in their sets again. So I'm going to put them together and I'm going to use in this case the glue glaze because it's got that quick grab, and that's quite important when I'm doing this. So I'm going to take one of the largest pieces first, put glue just in the center, and then pop the corresponding one on top. And I'm just going to hold that down just so that it grabs. I'm not pushing on it because it's a flat table. I'm not molding it in any way. I'm just going to hold it together. And in all honesty, doesn't that even look different to those ones? So you've got a lot of movement in there compared to that one where we just flipped up the corners. Anyway, we will carry on. So another bit of glue in the center there. And I'll next size up and try and offset the petals like we do. That's layering them all into the center. A bit of glue. You're not going to need very much because it's just enough to hold them, and then just keep on going up the next size, etc., etc. And each layer that you put on, if you just offset the petals, it just makes it look more realistic. I mean, you can put them absolutely flat on one another, but I think it gives it much more of a flower. Sorry, holding that in the way. Much more of a flower look, if you could call it that, by offsetting the petals. So that one goes into there. Nearly there. So you can see that I've used virtually every single flower in this case. So it could make 5 single flowers. Is it 5 single flowers? Yeah, I think so. And then they've all got the centres to them. Or, just holding this down a second, or just one massive flower. So I was going to put that in the centre, but now I've decided I don't want to use that. So that's going to go to one side. So let me just show you the difference. I know they're different colours, but you can see that that is the snow. They're both made from the Snowflower die. This one is just using the 2 pieces to make one flower and obviously the centre. And then this one is using every single piece so that you can put them all together. Okay, so I'm going to just pop that one to one side. So as you remember, we spritzed it with water, but when that dries completely, and it's not dry completely at the moment, I mean, it's not falling to pieces, but when it's dry, you will find that the, hold on a second, the staff has decided to talk. Wait a minute, sorry. I mean, I know they are allowed to talk, but he's got such a deep voice. Right, okay. So it will sort of set rock hard, and that will stay like that because you've spritzed it with water, which I think is really good. Okay, so I'm going to pop that to one side, and let's do a very similar one, but with a bit of a difference. And you tell me then which one that you like best. So I'm going to do the next colour, which was the second colour of my card here. And this is the lighter lilac one. Do you know, I really can't remember what they're called, which is not very good, is it? But nevertheless, so I'm going to pop that through my machine. Take the petals and things out. I'm going to add some ink to it. So I'm going to use a distress ink, and in this case Dusty Concord, but it's just sort of a mauvey colour. And I'm going to take one of my smallest blending brushes, and I'm going to add a small amount of the ink. And if you look onto the die, you'll be able to see where the centres of each of the little flowers are. Yeah, so you can see that there is a little circle in the centre of each flower. So I'm going to start off in the centre and then just work my way around it. Okay, so I'm just putting a bit of ink onto it. So starting off in the centre, so the centre of the flower is the deepest colour, and then just put in a bit of ink. So I've chosen this colour because it's a deeper colour but in the same family. So it's a deeper, this is a very light mauvey pinky colour, a card. If only I could think what it was called. I really don't know. Perhaps someone could look it up for me and find out what it's called. Goodness me, 55 years, it is a life sentence. Think of how many people you could have murdered and got away with it. But we wouldn't be without them, really, would we? Eh? Well, not after 55 years, you wouldn't anyway. So just making sure that that's on all the flowers. Whether I use all of the flowers or not is a different matter. But you could obviously put that ink on before you cut. But I've chosen to do it after I've cut, but definitely before I've taken it out of the die. So I'm just now going to run my brush through and take out all of those pieces. There are centre bits in there. I won't worry about them because I don't want them for this. But I do want this. Now, if you look, let's take my little centerpiece. If you look carefully at that, you can see that without doing anything, that you've got that very pretty little border edge to it, because we coloured it whilst it was still in the dye, so that you can't, so it leaves you with that very little pretty edge, which I think is, you know, a very pretty thing. But we haven't finished yet. So you could now use these and make the single flowers. So like we had last week, if I pop that on top of there, that is a very pretty flower. I think you'll agree. Rio, how did you almost miss me? How can you do such a thing as hoovering on a Friday morning without thinking what else you could be doing? Far better than hoovering, that's for sure. Yeah, priority, Jill, you're quite right. So we've got that very pretty pattern there like that. Okay, so you could make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single flowers like that, which would also look very, very pretty. However, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to do exactly the same as I did before in terms of adding a little bit of water. So I'm just going to spritz these again. So not getting them very, very wet, just spritzing each individual one as I go. Okay, like that. And I'm not sure if you can see that, but immediately with a bit of water added to it, it's because it's distress ink, it starts to move the ink a little bit. So I just think this gives such a pretty effect. So I'm going to do exactly the same though. I'm just going to squash together the corners of each of the petals. Okay, so I'm going to try and keep them in their sets again. So having just got it wet, I'm just going to push together these corners and then go on to the next size. And you can see that as I'm going through and the water's had more chance, it really is pretty, the effect that it's giving. But it's still giving you that little border around, which I think is an added bonus. You sent the staff out, yeah, well, I don't know why the staff suddenly made such a phone call when he was sitting right outside. I tell you, you just can't get the staff, can you, eh? Never mind. Now, the secret obviously is not to get them too wet because they are very precious in the centre here. So you might find that if you have over wet your card, that it can crack, fall apart, tear in the centre. So just be a bit careful with that. So I'm just going to take the worst off of the water because I don't want it to soak up anymore whilst it's just sitting there. Whoops. Now, if you left your flowers to one side and you did not put them together until they were dry, you would find it a little bit more difficult to achieve this effect. If you think that your flowers have become a bit too flimsy, it will be because you've put too much water on them. And so, yes, you could leave them to dry a bit and they might not be so bad, but they are not so easy to maneuver because when you, and I hope you will have a go at this, when you do have a go, you will see just how rock hard, just by adding water, that this makes your card. So pre-warned, eh? So I'm going to do exactly the same and I'm going to layer it up, adding a piece of glue to the center, holding it down, and then making a very full flower out of this. Okay, so, and then trying to offset the petals if I can as I go up. So you would have to cut out more of these than, so you can either make 5 flowers of the single layer or just the one out of the one die cut, one die pass through. So you do have to be just a bit more careful with it. You would get 4 full flowers out of an A4 piece of card. So I'm still on my A4, can't get away with my A4 here. Oh, you didn't get to the funeral, Sarah. Oh my goodness, that's awful. Well, awful that you stuck in traffic for 3.5 hours. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, not good. Not good. I hope I don't get stuck in traffic next week, because we're going up to see the baby next week, and fortunately we don't have to go on the M5, but that don't really matter, does it? It can be on anywhere, and I can't be doing with that. So hold on, I'm nearly there. 2 more pieces to go. So just 1 more piece, and I've put, with this one, I've put absolutely all of them, all bar the centres, and the centres I've not included, okay, but that's through my choice of how I want to do the flowers rather than anything else. So if I do want to tweak my flower up a bit, I would only do that whilst I'm holding on to this centre part with the ball tool, because otherwise I could be in danger of it breaking to pieces. So now you can see that where we put all of those patterns of the ink on, it's just, and it was wet, it's just coloured it just a little bit rather than the stronger colour that we had, because as the water takes it, it just makes it look much more realistic. So it's you know, a different way of doing a flower. Now, here is one of those that I did do earlier, and I don't, you can't see it, can you? But the colours do get darker because it's done in exactly the same way, and that is really quite rock hard, whereas this one isn't. So you can see that they just do set really quite hard. Okay, so let's put it together as a flower, as a card, I should say, with our flowers. Let me just check that it's all dry underneath here. So I've cut out some of the pine branches again, because I like those, and I'm just going to make a very simple display on here. Just notice that there's a couple of bits that haven't come out, so let me just take those bits out. There we go. So let's find my sticky specs. Just to put my word happy on, I think we need to do that. I'm hoping that the sticky specs comes back in stock very soon at the suppliers, because I do use it a lot and miss it, because I've got not a particularly sticky piece left. You can keep on reusing and reusing, but there comes a point when you just can't reuse it anymore. Oh, I need to bring that over a bit because I want all the word happy on. There we go. So my word happy, and I could obviously put any of the little sayings that go with that as well. I'm just going to stick straight down my pieces of pine branch, but as I always do, I only put glue onto the bottom parts of it so that I've got more movement in these top bits. Those top bits I never put glue. I never put the foliage stuck straight down onto it. It just doesn't sit there right for me doing that, just to be absolutely flat. It needs to stick out just a little bit. So I'm going to put both of my flowers on. So they're going to go on there like that. So I had the one here which I've had no ink to, no ink at all, and that's just going to go into that piece there. And then this one where I've put the ink onto, and that goes onto the centre there. Just hold that for a second or two. I could have used a glue gun, hot glue gun, but I don't really need to. It's not going anywhere for a little while, so we're all right. So let's have a look at the difference in there again. Whoops. So there is our one that we've done today, which is using the John Next Door Snowflower die, and so was this. But you really, the difference is incredible with the same dye. And as I said, that's why I love flower dyes, because I absolutely can't believe what you can get from just one flower dye. You can look it so different. Plus, of course, if you do it in a different colour as well, that again makes it look completely different. But these, I don't know which one I prefer. I just love them both. They're done with exactly the same type of thing, so that's why I've used the pine branch, just to show you that you can use any of that. Oh, now I've sat there and looked, haven't I? And I think I've got to add some. Hold on. I've got to add some of this. You know what I'm like? I sit there and I think, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I might use glue glaze for that. Use a bit of this. I just thought that it needed a little bit of extra oomph. You know what I mean? A bit of extra. And now it needs another bit of an extra. So I'm only using the pine branches again. I've not picked up anything different, and I'm just picking up the flower and just poking that underneath. But I've only put the glue on the very bottom bit so that I can pull up the edges. That's better. I'm happier with that now. Are you glad I'm happy? Well, good. That's why I'm happy. So there we are. Today's fancy flower Friday. Nothing particularly fancy, in as much as it's so easy to do, but so different. Do have a go. Love to see what you come up with. I will be back on, I'm glad you learned something new, Sandra. That's the idea. I will be back on, where am I? Sunday, with the Sunday special, where we'll be revisiting some stuff which has just come back in stock. And I think some of you have been anxious to get hold of it for a while, so that'll be good. And I will be going back to join some of my lovely ladies for the first time since February for a real life workshop, as things are starting to get back to, well, I wouldn't say normal, but we'll be getting back to doing them. So I'm looking forward to seeing my ladies in Chichester tomorrow afternoon. And I know some of you are here on there today, so that is really good. So have a great Friday and Saturday, and I shall see hopefully many of you on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock with the Sunday special. Have a good couple of days. Take care. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.